side of the docket right now, and that's where Trea Turner is. So Trea, for the next 2 months, has to try to, 2 months and 2 weeks, basically, about two months and a week.
Yeah.
So he's got about 9 weeks left before the postseason. That's where you have to focus your energy, and even two errors in an inning, you can't lose your mind because, that doesn't happen that often. And more times than not, you're making great plays. So he's got 12 errors on the season. I'm not looking at his defense right now, but I'll grab it real quick. When you look at your overall, how many chances that you've had 361 chances. You've made 12 errors. I'll take those odds. I'll take those odds. All of last year he made 16 errors, which is actually the most he's ever made in his career. Yeah. But dude, you turned 54 double plays last year. You've turned 39. You've helped turn 39 double plays this year. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
But they need wins, and they're expecting to be better than the Miami Marlins right now. I mean, this was a World Series team that added. This is a World Series team that went out and
added a lot of payroll, man.
So
Bryce Harper came back in 5 months after TJ.
And this particular guy, won a World Series with the Washington Nationals. Yep. Then we went to the Los Angeles Dodgers and had a fun time. So this guy in the last couple of years is used to high-caliber, best of the best MLB play. And he went to the Phillies to expect that same thing.
They're only a half out of the wild card right now. They're right behind the Marlins and the Reds.
He's feeling like he's the reason. And he is extremely frustrated, especially as that team. I agree. They're
right in it.
They're in it.
Right.
But they're not where they were last year.
No.
However, they were, they kind of limped into the playoffs and got hot in the playoffs to get to that World Series. But yeah, they're going to be a team to watch out for. And just this is a guy that it wants to be in all the time.
Guess what Jeff Passan's saying about Stroman? Could go to the Phillies.
There you go.
Could go to the Phillies.
Jeff Passan's right about one thing. Stroman's going somewhere. But I don't know if it's to the Phillies.
I'll tell you what. Yankees would be smart to get this dude. I know the Blue Jays want him back badly, but this would be the kind of thing that would help you. With Cortez coming back, with Judge coming back, and then all of a sudden you show your team that, hey, listen, we know Germán threw perfect game, but he's been shaky. We know Severino's been very shaky. We know the bullpen's pretty banged up. Putting a third or fourth type starter in that mix with his tenacity, I just love the way the dude competes. Some of the other guys are kind of goofy. They're not hot or cold. They're just kind of Germán and Severino really don't throw. The thing about Nestor Cortez is that dude's awesome out there. He's a showman. And so, he makes me want to watch that guy. The other guys are so lame. It's kind of like, okay, Marcus Stroman, every time he takes the hill, I want to watch that start.
Stroman is a showman. Yeah. He's fun to watch on the mound. He does his own thing. He's got his own routine, doesn't let anybody deviate from it. He's had one hell of a year in the Chicago Cubs. I wish he would stick around, but the writing's been on the wall for the last 2 months with the start that he has been on, and he's continued that.
The stock's high. Stock's high right now.
I think the Yankees would be a good landing spot. Any contender, honestly, would love to have this guy, and he's going to help them out immensely. One guy you didn't mention from the New York Yankees, a part of their pitching staff that will be pitching tomorrow against Jose Quintana, is Carlos Rodon. Don't give me that grunt. The dude's got a potential bounce back here coming up. Rodon is
0-3 with a 7.3 right now.
Just like Trea, but listen, teammates in college.
What did I tell you, though? Wait till the guy's got like 5 starts under his belt because he's not normal right now. I remember interviewing Chris Carpenter years ago when he came back from arm surgery, and he basically said, listen, my first 3 starts, I wasn't me. I didn't even feel like a pitcher anymore. He goes, it took me that to just kind of flush my system. So let those first 3 starts go. They were horrific, but hopefully the end result and hopefully getting the Yankees to the postseason, and this guy is why you paid him, get to the postseason and then deal. That would be why you'd go out and get a guy like Stroman.
All right, here's another guy that's underperforming with his contract, and he'll be the first to tell you so. Verlander going tonight against Germán.
He's been a slow guy. I mean, his spring training, I think, was probably about his first half dozen starts. I mean, but the problem about Verlander is he's fighting 2 things. He's fighting Father Time, and he's fighting a bunch of guys that he hasn't seen. He's been an American League pitcher most of his career. So he's facing a lot of National League dudes that don't know him, aren't intimidated by him. They're digging in on him. And, he's got to be able to make some adjustments. National League's different than it was when I played. I mean, it was predominantly a fastball up in the zone league. American League was a curveball type league with a lot of off-speed stuff that guys would feature. It's such a mixture now. So I just think that by this time, he should have enough in his mind that he can start really getting to be the pitcher that he was last year.
Well, facing the American League tonight in a team that doesn't have a lot of guys that are going to wow you with their average all around. DJ LeMahieu does have a pretty good statistical line against Verlander, 8-25. That's 320 with the average. He's only struck out twice, and he has 2 home runs in those 8 hits. Other than that, there's nothing to write home about. I mean, you've got a guy like Gleyber Torres, who's 4 for 24. Giancarlo's 3 for 20. So Verlander, I would say take the under tonight. It looks like he's going to know exactly what he's doing against this lineup of the New York Yankees.
Solid stuff, man. Looking at Verlander, you don't let him get to the 4th time through the lineup, which is he's only done it for 3 at-bats, but batting average against this dude. First time you face him in a game, 231. Second time, 232. Third time facing, 203.
That's solid.
That's some solid stuff from anybody in the major leagues.
He knows what he's doing. He's been there and he's done that. I agree with Alcantara. I think this one means a lot for the Mets. I would say tonight means a lot for the Mets with Verlander's start.
2 counts that Verlander doesn't want to be in. 3-1 and 2-1. 2-1, they're hitting 429 off of them. 3-1, they're hitting 429 off of them. So both of those places is where no pitcher really wants to be, but for Verlander, that's where he gets crushed the most.
Well, and that's typical with every pitcher. You say that all the time to your kids.
I do. Because, listen, 0-2, they're hitting $150. 2-0, they're hitting 400 plus, and they're very comfortable. So,
I'm looking forward to this series, man. I really do think, and I know this one's different because we like to have this interleague matchup every single year, and we're used to it since the 90s, really. But I really do think this interleague play all the time has brought more people to the ballpark and watched it live. I know you don't want to hear me say that, but I think it has. I would love to go to Wrigley Field to see the Yankees. I would love to go to Wrigley Field to see the Red Sox. I'd love to go to Fenway to see my Cubs. And I know it's happened in the past, but this year you can plan for it a little bit more than you have in the past.
Colorado Rockies announced this today. This is the kind of stuff that I physically get ill when I hear. Gabriel Hughes, Jordy Vargas, and Jackson Cox will all have season-ending Tommy John surgery. They're all their top prospect pitchers.
Yeah.
That's awful.
It's been awful. A rash of bad luck for the Rockies for a couple of years now.
Man. It's just, I don't see it changing, and everybody's been telling me for 10 years that it's about innings pitched. It's about that. I honestly, what I've seen the last 5 years is specialization. These kids got to start going back to. I just had a great conversation. We're going to have him on the show tomorrow. Longtime coach and part of UConn Athletics, Andy Baylock, will join us, football and baseball, and talk about the passing of Les Perkins. But more importantly, we talked about being 3-4 sport athletes when we were growing up, and having cross-training helped us become better baseball players. He played in the major leagues for 3 years. So, when you think about 50 years ago, 60 years ago, I think about guys being able to throw 325 innings a year and not have arm injuries. They threw every day. They only had 4-man rotations. Now we're talking about 8-man bullpens, 13 pitchers on a staff where I had 10. Everything is to protect these guys, and they're still getting injured. I just don't think there's a way to stop it. So why go with the way things have been going the last 10, 20 years? Why not try to go back to where Leo Mazzoni was? Have these guys throw every day. Have these guys, don't throw max effort all the time. Try to pace yourself when you take the ball out there. I mean, there's a lot of things that guys like Leo Mazzoni, and we'll talk to Andy Baylock tomorrow, can teach us about the arm injuries and keeping guys healthy maybe in the future. Maybe stuff we've been doing with a lot of the exercises that we've been doing. I'll tell you what, and I said this the other day about A-Rod. Not only did I agree with what he was talking about hitting-wise last night on his K-Cast, but I'm totally on board with these velo ranches. I'm against them. I don't like you throwing as hard as you can from 5 feet away against the wall to get it up to 95 miles an hour. That's not pitching. That's some kind of carnival trick, and it's proving nothing but injuring these young kids. And so I love exit velocity off bats. I love pitching velocity, but location, like you talk about special teams football, is everything with pitching.
Yeah.
And if you talk to Jim Penders last year, his best pitcher was a guy who threw in the mid-80s, was the graduate student out of Harvard. So that's what I'm talking about. There's got to be a compromise between these velocity camps that we're throwing on these pitchers and all the velocity we talk about in the major leagues and in college to let's try to get these guys 15, 20-year careers. Because I was an injured pitcher that had to retire early. I don't like it. I want these kids to have long, illustrious careers, and this is the kind of information that when I read it, it sickens me.
Well, talking a lot about specialization with a lot of coaches recently, I'd say in the last decade, and just finding out that a lot of these injuries are coming from non-related sports injuries. So like a hockey player that's only been playing club hockey, only been running around the United States or overseas playing hockey, starts playing basketball for the first time, never has, moves in a way that they're not used to because they've only been on skates for 12, 15, 20 years in their life. Then they get hurt just tweaking something some way because your body hasn't conditioned itself to use other muscles like it does when it's in other sports. And just hearing, like, when you look back at the greatest athletes in a particular sport, you best believe they were great in something else, too.
Oh, yeah.
I just saw this thing on Mookie Betts being one of the best. You guys know.
Bowlers. He's one of the best bowlers
Best bowlers in the history of the state of Tennessee. Number one ranked high school bowler. Yep. However, at 5'9", was also dunking basketballs and could dunk a basketball at the age of 30.
Okay, you remember Cecil Fielder? How big and rotund he was? He could 5'10", dunk a basketball.
Great example.
Tony Gwynn was a college basketball
San Diego
player.
State.
Kenny Lofton, amazing college basketball player. On and on and on. Dave Winfield, drafted by NFL team and 2 NBA teams. Besides being, he was drafted by 4 professional sports teams. And so, yeah, I don't think everybody needs to go play every sport. But I just think that, at younger ages, your kids shouldn't be playing baseball 10 months a year. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do Dibbles and Bits next.